Do you love breakdowns? Do you need stats? Do you crave insight? Download the AllStar app. UFC, Bellator, PFL 1 Championship, and more. Ad-free, fully customizable. Download the best app in the business. Link in descriptions.
James Krause. Some new revelations. Liam, you're a guy that makes picks. You're a guy that likes to dabble and dibble and dabble in the gambling aspects. And I love talking to people about that as well. And new information has come out that James Krause, ESPN, has released information about James Krause, more details of this case, that he was acting as an agent for an offshore book, which offshore books is not something that you want to be involved with, number one. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things that is illegal going on there. But you're an agent. What is he, like an FBI agent? What Leo, like, could you enlighten us on like what an agent of an offshore book would do? Like, do you know?
Yeah, well, I can definitely shed some light on this situation. Situations may vary. Do independent research, but just in the case of James Krause, I've read the articles. What it sounds like he was doing was he was operating a credit line for people, meaning that he would set them up with the bookmaker. So, I think it was ABC something, abc.ag, something like this. AG meaning Antigua, I think, whatever it is. It's a area, Costa Rica, a few places where you can bookmake anywhere in the world legally. But that doesn't mean everywhere else in the world accepts that you're legally bookmaking from Costa Rica. Does that make sense? So people go there because it's easy to set up. It's easy to get, licensure in that jurisdiction to set up a sports betting service. But then the United States says you can't play there. So somebody like James Krause, who's in the United States, then has to facilitate illegal transactions. And that's why this has ensnared him in legal trouble. He has to facilitate these transactions. There has to be money sent from them to you. It has to get to the United States. There has to be somebody who's operating a ledger for you. What bets you've placed? Are you winning? Are you losing? Do you owe me money? Do I owe you money? So that's sort of how the bookie relationship with the patron works. And there's some books that are post up, meaning in order to place the bet, I have to give you the money. So you have the money now. And if I win, you give me the money back with more money. And if I lose, you take the money. There's other bets where I place the bet on credit with you. Me and you establish, you got a $10,000 limit, before you have to pay me out, whatever. But, how much do you want to put down on this? That's what he was doing. Post up is legal bookmaking. Everywhere that you go to bet legally in the United States, you have to post up. You have to give them the money. So there's a wager where they know that the money is there. And there's not, somebody has to chase you down, and these kind of terrible situations that happen when people are trying to look for money that they don't get. And that's the other thing. When you have legal regulated bookmaking, you have somebody that you could appeal to. Hey, this person has wronged me. They owe me money. I placed a bet with them. I have the slip. They have my money. They haven't paid me out on this wager. You can involve the government. If you have a third party offshore bookmaking relationship, now I can't call a government agency and say, hey, you have to enforce some kind of standards. They're not hearing it. They said, you shouldn't have booked with them. We told you that's against the law. We told you we can't help you with an offshore, agency that we don't have any jurisdiction over. And so at the end of the day, in my humble opinion, this is getting Krause on technicalities, on things like wire fraud, mail fraud, things that are very easy to prove that he did wrong in order to get more information about the broader problems here, of which there are many. And, the Minner fight is being investigated. The team is being eliminated and banned from competition and told to move elsewhere if they want to continue training. It's like the situation is very dire. And what I would assume they're doing is finding a way to force more people to talk about James's situation. And the way to do that is to threaten criminal charges against them. If they helped in any way facilitate these illegal transactions like wire fraud and mail fraud, that carries with it lengthy prison sentences and things like that, where people will then start sharing more information. Ultimately, they want to get James Krause, is my idea here. That's what it seems like to me, unless there's an even bigger fish to fry that we're unaware of. But until that shoe drops, I have to assume that the main target of this investigation is James Krause. And I think this is probably the smallest of all prosecutable offenses that he will be brought up for.
In this case, I don't believe James Krause is the head. I don't think he's the top guy, the top boy, so to say.
In these revelations,
the
certainly not. He's just operating as a third-party agency. That's why I don't even think this is the biggest part of the story. This is like how they're going to prod him for more information about the things that we really want to know, like what happened in that fight with Derek Minner, and did you know going in that Derek had a 0% chance to win? Because if you had a 0% chance to win, that's a fixed fight. There's no other way to describe it. People placed bets as though he had, a 20 or a 15 or a 30% chance to win. That's what you're doing when you're betting. You're trying to establish what percentage of the time does this person win? Is it superior to the odds I'm being offered? And if you thought Derek Minner had a chance to win and James and Derek knew that he had a 0% chance to win, then you had a 0% chance to win. You bet into nothing. You just donated your money. You gave it away, and it's because you didn't have the information that they had. They had inside information. And that's why this illegal bookmaking stuff is wrong and probably speaks to some, steps that he was willing to take to skirt the law to make money, which, say whatever you will, it's a dirty, rotten business. It's cage fighting at the end of the day. But the things beyond that, we really care about. This is how I try and encourage people to make bets that are smart, to try and look at the odds, to try and make these percentages. But if somebody has a 0% chance to win and you're trying to make an honest assessment with half the information, you're doomed. You're being set up to fail, and that's not fair. And it would be illegal in any other market. And it would be clearly unethical in every other market. So these are the insider trading issues that we're dealing with as combat sports bettors. And I think it's better that the public becomes aware of it, because I've been yammering about James Krause for months, because it was clear and obvious that he at the very least had an appearance of impropriety. And I come from the world of politics and public opinion research, and you can't have the appearance of impropriety. That in of itself is too much. You're gone. So I think that, MMA is getting a little bit of a harsh wake-up call as ESPN is involved, as there's more magnifying glasses. They've tried to look away from all these situations, but at a certain point they can't. When Canada stops booking bets on the UFC for 30 million customers, you can't not talk about that. So I do think that it's important that it's been raised as an issue, and it's an issue I've been trying to raise myself, because it's concerning. And I think it needs to be addressed in a forceful manner right now before it gets any worse.
Well, this is just the beginning, right? This is an FBI investigation, which means the more people that they interview, the more people that they threaten, the more information that's going to come out, the more people that they got to go to interview again, or make arrests, make interrogations. It's going to be a long, dragged out situation for the FBI and whatever agencies, what other agencies that are involved, and what countries are involved as well. It might not just be in the U.S. We don't know everything yet. But Chris, I wanted to throw this at you, man. You got Jeff Molina, who is a promising flyweight prospect in the UFC. Not much longer after Krause was suspended, he was suspended from competition. And then they got this, like screenshots from the 1% Club Discord, where Molina is stating right here that the insight Krause has in this sport is insane. He's trained with a lot of the fighters, lives and breathes this sport as a coach/fighter, and at times has the scoop on injuries, non-announced matchups, how fighters look in camp, etc. In stocks, this is called insider trading. In MMA betting, it's called James Krause. For the last 6 months, all my bills, including mortgage and car note, have been paid via Krause's picks. Do yourself a favor and join the VIP. Man,
I hate being right. I hate being right, gentlemen. I do. No, I hate it.
You think
Chris,
you regret saying that a little bit? Oh,
yeah, like this should tell you, please be careful of what you write in any chat room, any chat on your phone or anything, Chris. But this is really bad for Jeff Molina and James Krause, right? Like, what do you think of this excerpt?
Yeah, it's not looking good for Jeff. I mean, the thing is like, did people that took Krause's advice and worked with him in another way, are they also guilty of criminal offenses? I think that's what the question is. Did Jeff Molina actually do anything wrong, or did he just follow James Krause's advice? I think that's what the question is. I don't.
Well, let me hold on right there. I just want to cut you off. It says right there, in stocks it's called insider trading. In MMA betting, it's called James Krause. Like that, that's clear as day. Like he knows what's going on, right? Like insider trading is illegal.
Yeah. It's a crime. It's not a cheat code. It's a crime. But like, yeah, I mean, for Krause, it's like he still has a lot of influence in the technical side of the sport, coaching. For Jeff Molina, like he's still like in his 20s. He's still like just getting his UFC career started. So that's a different kind of like, man, it's a shame if he's taken out or like put behind bars. I'm not saying he's guilty of anything yet. I don't want to be a police here, but like that's just crazy to think that there could be active UFC fighters that are promising that could be going to jail. That's at least like on the table.
No,
and
prison. Dana White said, not jail, prison.
There's a difference. There's a big difference. Yeah, I know. And it's like,
don't drop the soap. That's what Dana told James Krause.
Our advice to you, Jeff, don't drop the soap. But yeah, it's like how much more of this is going on, like all throughout the UFC roster. Like, like I forget who said it, but like someone was like, yeah, 90% of the UFC roster is betting on fights and making money. I forget who said that, but someone said that recently. But I'm just like, oh man, what kind of things are going on in like Russia with people, like some more of these like offshore books, and like I just I wonder how far it's going to go. And this could end up being the story of 2023. As much bad stuff has already happened in 2023, like it could get a lot worse. I hate to be the guy to say that, but like 2023 could just be getting started with all of this. And I hope it isn't, but yeah, not looking good. Hopefully it doesn't go that much farther, but gear up for an ugly 2023 is all I got to say.
The you don't even call it trajectory, right? It's like the decline of James Krause is just continuing, right? And who is involved? This is the most interesting story in the history of the sport, to me. Mm-hmm. Like it involves so many people, and it's been going on. It's not even just the James Krause thing. From what I've heard behind the scenes, it's been going on the whole time. You just don't know who, because no one's going to admit to it. And James Krause was the one that basically, the Ariel Helwani interview is like the most classic, I'm guilty of all these things. I'm going to tell you what I'm guilty of. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing illegally. And you are not going to do nothing about it. Well, yes, people are always listening. People are always watching. And especially like a lot of people that gamble, they really hate James Krause. Even before all of this stuff happened, right, with Derek Minner, and I'm pretty sure Liam, you as well. You saw this, the writing on the wall. You probably the Ariel Helwani interview where he was talking about account takeovers, which is illegal as well. Like he admitted to it.
And anybody who knows the first thing about gambling knows how illegal that is. It's like legal, regulated gambling. The first things they ask you are like proof of identification. Where do you live? Like, can you agree to geolocation services? Like, it's a very upfront process. You got to be who you are, and you got to be where you say you are. Like, and they check. So if you're not doing that and you're openly, publicizing that, what are you doing behind the scenes? What are you doing when we're not watching? If you'll tell us to our face, I'm doing this illegal act, I'm doing these facilitations of crimes, and then we already know about one shady thing, which is being, a agent for the offshore bookmaker. I'm not going to personally fault him too much for that. It's the world of gambling. I kind of get it, but I also am like, I know that the reason I dislike James Krause has nothing to do with him working as an agent for an offshore bookmaker. That's the least of my concerns. My concern is that he's got weird coaching behavior in fights that he admits again on Ariel's show that I'm wagering on. So I wager on the fight, then change my behavior as a coach or spectator as a result. So I'm not coaching everybody equally. I'm coaching some guys to go get the finish because I have the ITD prop. It's like this guy was going way over the line, crossing. We talk about, the sport for a long time walked that fine line between like the fighters would talk about sometimes. I bet my whole fight purse on myself, which is a completely ridiculous investment strategy. But people would tell you straight up, like, I'm betting 25,000 on this fight that they're involved in. That used to be just commonplace. Justin James said it before his fight. He said, I'm betting my entire fight purse, the value of my purse, on myself to win. And he lost the fight, by the way. So this isn't a new thing, but then it's a whole nother thing to say, I'm betting on the people that I coach. I'm betting on the fights for people. And then he knows that Derek Minner's injured, guys. We know that. He knew that going in. He said it in his Discord, by the way. So he knew, and he probably bet accordingly, even though he's in the corner. That's probably why he's going to jail. And nobody says that, but it's like, guys, that's the most obvious thing in the world. And he's probably done it before. And when he said that he bet $3 million on David Onama, that's either a lie or it was facilitated by having all those multiple accounts. Because anybody who knows the first thing about gambling knows they open up the limits at the end of the week. He did a podcast on like a Monday or Tuesday, said, yeah, I got down $3 million on Onama. At the time, limits at most sports books are 5 dimes, maybe 10 dimes. And again, he's reporting to be a very sharp player. If you guys are sharp players or you know any sharp players, they'll tell you, you start betting into one of these shops that isn't very sophisticated and you're beating them, they will not take a big bet from you. You want to bet 10 grand at a time, they'll say no. 10 grand. And he's saying he got down $3 million. And then the other guy wins against a minus 300 favorite. And James is supposedly out all the money. It's like, I bet he did fine. I bet the people who listened to his advice did poorly. I bet he did just fine on that transaction. And we'll wait and see, right? Sue me if you want, James. You got bigger fish to fry. But I just think, I'm not afraid to say what's on my mind. I think that there's a lot more to come out about this situation. I've been skeptical for a long time. And that's why this for me is just like pebbles on the ground of a very dirty situation that he's gotten himself involved in. And, these will be the little rocks stuck in his shoe that get him in enough pain to talk about what's going on. Whatever that is, but it's going to go deeper.
In that interview, he mentioned that, he's like, man, I don't make money from coaching. I make my money from gambling, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. We know that the pay is not so high, and the coach is going to get a certain percentage of their winnings. But if you look at the article, it mentions he owns 14 properties. He owns 14 properties. He drives a Porsche. Like, if you're not making money off coaching, you must have been making tremendous amount of money if you're owning 14 properties, right? That
Discord is how he was making the money. He gets you to pay for him to gamble with your money. And on top of it all, he's then working for the bookmaker. So he's pretending to work for you. He's working for the bookmaker. He's working for the UFC. He's working for this guy. He's doing the show. All of that can't be kosher. That's 9 conflicts of interest. I can't be the guy who books the bet, the guy who tells you what to bet on, and the guy who bets myself. I can't be, because I'm lying then. Somebody has to lose, guys. I hate to tell you, this is the truth of gambling. Someone loses. Every time. And sometimes it's the guy who's really good at gambling. Sometimes he loses, but it's like we all take a risk. And so at the end of the day, somebody gets paid out with somebody else's money. That's true, right? We all can't win. We all want to win. We all try and play the game fairly. If you lose the game fairly or win the game fairly, no one's got a problem. But when you cheat to win, when you have information that the rest of the field doesn't have, and you tell people, I'll make it available to you, and then you do and you don't. He also, I can share from personal experience because I knew about this one at the time. He said, Merab Dvalishvili has an injury. I would cash out your bets on Merab. And Merab 30-27 Jose Aldo. Was that real information or fake information? Did the bookmaker tell him to say that, or did he think to say that? I don't know. You tell me.
You could go through a fine.
Did Merab look hurt to you, by the way, in that fight? I didn't think so.
Well, you could go through a fine-tooth comb and just go through all the podcasts and all the advice that he gave out to people and dissect it. And that's what probably the FBI is doing, to see like the bets that he made, the advice that he was giving out on the podcast, and that's why all the accounts were
Something
taken
tells
down,
me
right?
they're not going to add up.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's
someone's
it's
already writing a movie about this. Like, I was just trying to think, like, who's going to play James Krause in like the next
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, Ashton Kutcher, I think would be a good James Krause. Like, that's going to be an awesome movie someday. It's going to be good. Or a Netflix documentary. It's perfect.
Oh, it's gonna definitely be something on Netflix. Like
Yeah.
Netflix is gonna take advantage of that situation. But it's not over. It's far from over, and we're gonna be talking about this for the rest of the year, I think, and maybe even into the next year. Who knows? Unless people start taking plea deals, and then we'll start seeing things close off real quick, investigations. But we'll be watching closely.